What's going on? 5:04 Eastern Standard Time, early evening, Wednesday, December 17th. It's week 16 of this NFL regular season. The Patriots and Ravens will battle it out on Sunday Night Football in Baltimore. It's the third to last game in the regular season for the Ravens, and obviously they remain in must-win, have-to-win, gotta-have-it mode for the foreseeable future if they want to continue to control their own destiny. Glad you guys are with me. I'm Bobby Trosset. If you could on the way in, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. The guest line access is open if you want to share a thought on what we now know is written in ink, and that is another missed practice for Lamar Jackson. It's an illness this week. It was a rest day last week. We'll see if he returns as he has every other week dating back to the Vikings week. After missing one practice, we'll see if he returns tomorrow. The Ravens just released this first injury report. It's the first of three, as we know, leading into Patriots weekend. Chido Awuzie leads the list with a foot. He was a DNP. We all remember what John Harbaugh's explanation was, getting caught in netting on the sidelines of Paycor Stadium Sunday in Cincinnati. That'll be something to watch. He's a really important piece to this Ravens secondary, perhaps an unsung hero from this 2025 season, and I would think is a candidate to be eligible for an extension. He's been that kind of player for the Ravens. Rashad Bateman was a full participant with that ankle that forced him to not only miss Sunday's game against the Bengals, but two other games prior. It's that high ankle sprain that goes back to over a month ago. So good to see him beginning his week with a fresh start and a full participation mark. Teddy Buchanan, of course, with the ACL. He was a DNP. His season is likely over. Jay Higgins, though, the undrafted rookie out of Iowa, showed up the preseason, went down with a knee earlier this season. He was limited, so his 3-week window to potentially be activated to the 53-man roster is officially on. Keandre Jackson, safety, popped up with an ankle. He was limited during practice. Lamar with the illness. We'll hear from John Harbaugh in just a second on that. CJ Okoye, defensive tackle with a quad. He was a full participant, but something did pop up with him. Roquan with a knee was a DNP. Ronnie with a knee/ankle, a DNP. And Kyle Van Noy, a quad DNP. Yeah, it's mid on the second half now of December, so some of these are just like get right days, rest days, veteran days, you name it. And John Harbaugh did expect the likes of Roquan and Ronnie and maybe even KVN to return to practice coming up tomorrow. But the one that we'll obviously focus in on, the way that the one that this video is built around, and you'll hear the way that John Harbaugh stonewalled a reporter's question in follow-up to what we now know is illness related for Lamar's missed Wednesday practice. So here is John Harbaugh talking about that and their overall health situation earlier this afternoon at One Winning Drive.
He's it's kind of a rest thing. I mean, the guys are dealing with different things from the game. Ronnie, those guys were held back today. Expect those guys out there tomorrow. We'll see, but should have those guys tomorrow. Lamar had an illness. He was kept home with a flu deal. The doc kept him home today, away from the guys, so that was what happened with that.
What do you set out practice probably anyway? Just doesn't watch that.
Yeah. Is there other questions? Any other questions?
That's it.
All right, good. Thanks.
Did you guys catch that? So the first part of his answer was about Roquan Smith. Then he goes into talking about the entire team's health, and then he singles out Lamar and mentions that it's an illness. Doctor kept him home, probably didn't want to spread whatever it is that he has. And then Jerry Coleman comes in with the follow-up. Would it be fair to say that he would have missed today anyways because of rest, which, of course, has been the repeat trend dating all the way back to, like I mentioned earlier on at the start of the show, Vikings week. So let me just rewind that just in case you missed it and listen to Harbaugh. He wanted absolutely nothing to do with it.
Kept him home today, away from the guys, so that was what happened with that.
What do you set out practice probably anyway? Just doesn't watch that.
Yeah. Is there other questions? Any other questions?
That's it.
All right, good. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So he wants nothing to do with it. He said that Harbaugh said that Lamar was held home with an illness. They're hopeful that several return coming up. As far as the New England perspective is concerned, from an overall health and availability standpoint, again, it's early in the week, so you don't want to overreact to too much of this. But Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, not injury related. He was limited. Carlton Davis with a hip, DNP. Christian Ellis, DNP illness that time of year, I suppose. Marcus Jones with a knee, DNP. Harold Landry, knee, DNP. Robert Spillane, linebacker, ankle, DNP. So anyway, it's Wednesday. You don't want to get too ahead of the skis when it comes to evaluating overall statuses and whatnot. With that said, obviously the Ravens list is a little bit more lengthy than I think a lot of you would like, given the importance, given the magnitude of this matchup coming up on Sunday at the Bank, where the Ravens have not been dominant this year, particularly in primetime, having lost several key games in primetime on their home turf, where they are historically, not just in the Lamar era, but in the Harbaugh era, utterly dominant in primetime fashion. So this could be the last home game of the season. It certainly is for the regular season. If they win out and you win the AFC North, they'll host a home wild card game. But that's obviously a long ways from right now. And you got to get through one of the hottest teams in the league, who just coughed up a 3-score lead, a 3-score cushion that they had built up over Buffalo. Bills came back on New England's home turf to beat them. And we'll get into what this team looks like right now at 11-3 under Mike Vrabel, who, of course, is in year one. And he talked about this Ravens organization, specifically about his former running back in Tennessee, where he coached Derrick Henry.
Huge challenge. He's a very unique player. Great speed, great power, strength. He's just a different body type than what anybody would go against. And so it's unique in that regard. They do a very nice job with their scheme, different personnel groups and different run plan and styles of run and different run actions. So again, we know what he's about, build speed and stiff arm and all that other stuff. He was very valuable, I think, to our success in Tennessee. Me personally, had a great relationship with Derrick. He was always there. Seemed like when we needed to play, he made it. And, he's a great teammate. Anytime that there was a message, he delivered that message in his own particular way. So again, he was somebody that I really valued in the 6 years that I was there with him.
Can you believe Tennessee let both of those players go? Those guys go? Mike was a former player and a damn good one himself, but can you believe Tennessee let Mike Vrabel go, let Derrick Henry go, and now look at them. Oblivion. Underperformance. Inconsistency. Rebuild. That's what they're in the middle of. Now, I'm sure they have their guy, their franchise quarterback. I haven't watched a ton of Cam Ward this year to feel truly confident about that, but they got to go in and get a dynamic hire, build around Cam. Dude is uber talented, and he certainly wasn't the problem this year in Tennessee. They fired Callahan, right? Brian Callahan, wasn't it, within the first month or two? So, and then at the deadline, as the Ravens ended up being one of the beneficiaries of, they just started selling. And that's how Dre'Mont Jones ended up in Baltimore. And we'll see how that deal ends up, kind of being evaluated and ultimately remembered. But gosh, right here in the what have you done for me lately, in that world that we're living in right now, Dre'Mont's been a pretty darn good addition. 5 quarterback hits on Sunday in Cincy. I know the Bengals were, lifeless at times. And that offensive line leaves some to be desired. But with the emergence of Tavius Robinson being back and that ability for Zach Orr to play these guys inside and out and that duo, and Dre'Mont to be a true, not manufactured, but organic presence of setting the edge and getting pressure, there's a lot to like moving forward. And by the way, the other acquisition at the deadline, as we covered on the Vault today, Alohi Gilman, was named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. And he had a darn good week against the Bengals. So both acquisitions playing good football so far right now. They're going to need a whole lot of that as this competition stiffens over the next 3 weeks. Drake May is an MVP candidate. I think Stafford's running away with it, but Drake is a candidate. They're way ahead of schedule, the Patriots, in terms of what they were expected to be. I mean, they played a fourth-place schedule, so perhaps that record's a little bit watered down if you really want to look at it. I'm not taking anything away from this team whatsoever. They're way ahead of schedule, but they have obviously had the benefit of playing in the AFC East and that fourth-place schedule, given this remarkable turnaround that's been executed by Mike Vrabel and his new staff in Tennessee. So that's where I'm at with that. You can have all the familiarity, just going back to his comments on Derek, you can have all the familiarity in the world with King Henry, and sometimes it just doesn't matter. Now, with that in mind, Ravens got to be moving bodies. And I'm not just talking about in the red area. This offensive line, I thought played well. Well enough to win. Well enough to, I was going to say 24 points, but they didn't put up 24 points. It was 17 because you got to take the 7 away from the defensive touchdown. So I thought it was a good day offensively. But when you consider the fact that they ran just 40 plays, which was the second lowest in a game in their 30 years of being a franchise, you give them a little bit of grace in terms of evaluating their overall output. When you throw a pick because of the Zay Flowers bobble, when your defense scores a touchdown, and Cincinnati runs these long drives and then comes up empty because you bow up on third down the way that Zach Orr's unit did, I just can't sit here and, truly bring out my pitchforks the way that you guys do when I all but, when I just ever so slightly criticize Lamar, and you know how it goes. It's pitchfork city in here. I can't do that when it comes to evaluating the Ravens offense. Last week, they ran freaking 40 plays. They were barely on the field. Man, it felt like there were entire quarters where Cincinnati had the ball. That included the fourth. So, more from Mike Vrabel, though, who talked about this Ravens defensive turnaround and a lot of the pieces to the puzzle in terms of how they've been doing it successfully in Baltimore this year.
They're running the ball on them, so they're forcing a lot of these games to be one-dimensional. Really good mix of veteran players and some youth, really good interior players. They're just big. They're, Jones and Jenkins. And obviously they'll rotate other guys through there, but it starts with those two. I think Kyle Hamilton is one of the best players in this league just from a versatility standpoint and what he can do at the line of scrimmage covering. 34 career PBUs, 8 career sacks, plays nickel, plays safety, plays dime backer. So the versatility there is impressive. The playmaking ability is impressive. Humphreys is, if you're loose with the football or you take a nap, he'll pull it out or he'll hammer it. Roquan Smith usually tackles the ball every time it's handed off. So they're playing well. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and it'll be a huge test.
Let's take a look at where these two teams rank through 15 weeks of football. 14 games overall. Ravens are 7-7. Patriots are 11-3. And we'll begin where Mike Vrabel was just discussing things, and that is in the defense, Zach Orr's defense. And as you look at where they are, category by category, they're getting back to where you want them to be. Average or above average. They're the 23rd ranked overall group in total defense, 344.4 yards per game. Obviously not where you want to be, but what have you done for me lately? Well, a shutout and good enough football to win, quite frankly. On the ground, they're 15th, right in that middle zone when you rank them up and stack them up against the entire league. 15 out of 32, 111.1 rushing yards per game, Passing, still too many yards through the air, a lot of which goes back to the first month. 26th overall, 233.3 yards per game through the air. They're 15th in scoring at 22.9 per contest. They're 8th on third down, 36.2% of the time. They're allowing opposing offenses to convert and move the chains. They're 19th on fourth down, and they're 7th in the red area. So 51.9% of the time, they're allowing opposing offenses to score touchdowns. 7th. Far cry from what New England's is. And perhaps this is one of those areas that the Ravens can exploit if this 14-game sample size proves to be true and leaks into Sunday night in Baltimore. Mike Vrabel's group is dead last in red zone defense. They're allowing opposing offenses to score touchdowns 75% of the time that they get to the red zone. Not good. And it's an area that the Ravens collectively, not just the offensive line, not just the rushing attack, not just Lamar and his polish, not just the pass catchers, not just Todd Monken, not just the communication between Harbaugh and the box, as he said it within the last week or two. Everything has got to jive together in the red zone if they want to be more consistent. Lamar talked about it in his post-game interview with Aditi on CBS. Yeah, they shut him out on Sunday. Yeah, it was a huge win. Yeah, the offense looked more polished. Yeah, you take Zay Flowers' drops away, Lamar has one more touchdown and a chunk more yards. But they still did not cash in consistently enough for Lamar's liking in the red zone. However, for their woes in the red zone, New England makes up for it in other areas. They're the 7th ranked overall defense. They're 5th against the run, 15th against the pass, 7th in scoring, 11th on third down, 3rd on fourth down. And like I mentioned, that starts to go the other way on them and snowball in the red zone where they are dead last at 75% in terms of their touchdown percentage within the red zone. Offensively, the Ravens are the 20th ranked overall group. They're still 3rd in the ground game, a top 5 rushing offense at 146.2 rushing yards per contest, 27th through the air at 178.4, 14th in scoring at 23.9, 24th on third down, 18th on fourth down, and 31st in the red area. So 44% of the time, that's it. When they get in the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns. That is so un-Raven-like, especially when you consider the fact that they were one of the best teams, if not the best offense in the entire league last year in that area. New England's offense, 6th overall, 13th on the ground with 122.4 rushing yards per contest, 6th through the air, 241.8 passing yards per game, 7th in scoring, 6th on third down, 2nd on fourth down, and 24th when they get inside the 20s in the red zone. And that is your tail of the tape, if you will. Mike Florio and Chris Sims did a segment earlier today that undoubtedly will piss some of you off. And I think a lot of it's speculation, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. What it was, players around the league that they could see wanting, desiring, needing, or just straight up potentially being eligible for a change of scenery in 2026. And to none of your surprise, Lamar Jackson landed on Mike Florio's list. Here is a segment from Pro Football Talk earlier this afternoon. It's Chris, it's Mike, and I will react accordingly with you on the other end. If you are enraged, give me a call. The guest access line right now is pinned in my live chat. Here they are.
And this really isn't a shocker. A month or two ago, it would have been. I think Lamar Jackson needs a change of scenery. And we both kind of know where he wants to go. We kind of know. We kind of already like to get home to Miami. That's kind of out there, right? That would be something for the Dolphins if they can't swing it while they've got the Tua dead money.
We'll trade you Tua for Lamar, even swap, no problem.
But you know, we've been through this before, where there's just a weird vibe between Lamar and the Ravens. And that's been the prevailing sentiment since he suffered the hamstring injury. He missed a whole month. He came back for the Thursday night game, and he had the great performance with the 4 touchdown passes. It was all kind of sluggish after that, and he was injured. But it just feels like something's off there. Whether it's he already expects his next contract and they haven't given it to him and he's not happy about that. Look, I don't think he was very thrilled about some of the stuff that came out when the hidden collusion grievance ruling came to light. Like, oh, we couldn't get him on the phone because his microphone was broken. Like, he's a very, very, very private person. And something happened in that relationship. And because he's so private, he's never going to say it.
Right.
I just get a vibe that maybe it's time. And who knows what they would get for him in trade. And who knows what someone would offer in trade at this point. There's a lot of wear and tear on a guy who's creeping toward 30, but I feel like he'd benefit from a fresh start, and I feel like he would very much like to get to Miami. I just think from a cap standpoint with the Tua deal, it's impossible.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, you're not wrong in that prevailing thought. I think there's a lot of people out there that think Lamar would like to make his way back to South Florida at some point in his career. And I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I can't imagine the Ravens wanting to let him go. We know, I mean, he is beyond the face of the franchise. He is that, certainly, and he's a special player where he's been one of the, if not the best or top 3 the last few years in the league. But yeah, I hear you. And that's where I think we all go. And I think a lot of people in the NFL, what's going to happen with Baltimore if they don't get to the promised land this year? I think there's, on top of that thought of Lamar is also the John Harbaugh. And will they go separate ways and just go, hey, it's been a good run, but it's time to change? I think there's a lot of things there up in the air with the Baltimore Ravens. But the Lamar Jackson thing, that would be crazy. And I hope everybody from Baltimore emails you on that one later today. Have fun with that.
Well, I mean, but no. But we're being realistic here.
I know,
and look, from the organization standpoint, when you consider how difficult it's been for them since the year 2018 to deal with a guy who doesn't have an agent, and all the stories we've heard about, and they had that difficult negotiation with him in 2023.
Yeah.
It took forever. Like, I think that there will be a degree of relief when they can go back to dealing with a quarterback who has an agent that you can get on the phone and have a conversation with anytime you want. I just think there's a cumulative fatigue, and he's a good enough player that you deal with it. But when you see, and I don't know, look, he looked like he was back to himself this weekend against the Bengals. Maybe the injuries have healed. But they're never going to say it out loud, but maybe at some point they're like, man, if they got to find somebody, and he's one of the best players on the planet, and they may take a big step back at quarterback, but there may be just a fatigue factor. And, hey, maybe for Lamar, maybe the change is, a mutual split between the Ravens and John Harbaugh, and there's a coach in there that can get through to him and get more out of him and put a better offense around him. And, there's been a reason why they haven't made it to a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, and maybe it's not Lamar Jackson. Maybe it's other factors that have kept that from happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly. We know that, I think you're right. Other factors, not right game plans, and a little unlucky with injuries, unlucky with turnovers last year and messing the game up in Buffalo and everything there. So they haven't been able to put it all together. You're 100% right about that. Lamar hasn't played his best in big games. I don't think they've necessarily supported him the best in some of those big games as well. But regardless, we know that there's been a lot less talented quarterbacks making it to the Super Bowl in the last 15 years than Lamar Jackson. They haven't gotten there. And that starts to put a spotlight on your franchise when that happens. Like, wait, they have this guy and they can't get to the big game? I mean, we looked at Green Bay all those years and went, they only got to the Super Bowl once with Aaron Rodgers? That's crazy. What's wrong? And here we are with Lamar Jackson going, damn, it's whatever, year 8, I guess, year 9, and they haven't got there either. So that is a little crazy. All right.
Speaking of crazy, there's a lot of crazy in that 4-minute segment that I wanted to make sure I got all that in there so that we could react accordingly. So first of all, Chris obviously joking off the top, it would not be a fair deal, fair and square, Tua for Lamar. I think we all know that. that would be unfair. And all due respect to Tua, he's struggle city, and there's a reason why he was just benched by the Miami Dolphins, having literally just received a contract extension from them in 2024. So, look, do I think that Lamar would love to play for his hometown and love to play in Florida, or, his hometown, meaning south of Miami, or Pompano is where I always forget how you pronounce. I should know this because I've lived in Florida now for 3.5 months, but is it Pompano or Pompano? Maybe you guys can help me out in the live chat on that, but you get it. Do I think that he would love to play in his home state? Who wouldn't? But I think it's important to note that you'd be going from stability, consistency, and a perennial favorite in terms of Super Bowl contending or playoff contending to what? Anything but. Dysfunction, instability, inconsistency. That's what the Miami Dolphins have been for years. For years. Now, look, I know that Florio is on record for saying many things, like the prediction on Christmas night a couple years ago that the Ravens would be demolished, and then they absolutely punched San Francisco in the mouth, didn't they? We all remember that. So while there's definitely been reactive commentaries from Mike over the years, I do think there's something to be said about the quote-unquote cumulative fatigue that he references with regard to Lamar Jackson's decision to represent himself as a pro. Eric has spoken on this on the record and suggested, made comments leading you to believe that it was a huge relief when he got the deal done. That was as unique of a deal as he's ever done in his career. And when you're negotiating without a liaison between the team and the player, that can be extremely difficult. It's a delicate balance that you have to have as an organization, and the mouthpiece of the organization, obviously, and the one who's representing the organization is Eric and his team. And the fact that they were able to keep that relatively, for the most part, private throughout that entire saga several years ago was really impressive. But it wasn't without its challenges, obviously, as it tends to be with any negotiation. But what did Mike say there? It's worth it because of the player. The player wins well over 60% of the games in which he starts. What is that percentage at now? Can somebody go check that for me? Because of this season, there's been 7 losses, obviously, so it's not as north as it once was. At one point, it used to be over 70% of the games in which he starts. He's a 2-time, should be 3-time MVP. And what is he paid to ultimately do? We've talked about this on the collective all year long. You're paid to mask team deficiencies. You're paid to mask, in some cases, some of your team's shortcomings. And Lamar has successfully done that year in and year out. And it really wasn't until this year, due to his health or lack thereof and multiple ailments, lower body ailments, where he hasn't been able to do that as he has in years past, at least not to the extent, to the success level, the supreme success level that he's had in the past with that. I mean, let's be honest. This is a player that won an MVP with, who were his wide receivers back in 2019? You had Marquise Brown as wide receiver 1. Who else was on that team? Was Miles Boykin? I think Miles Boykin was on that team. Had Sammy Watkins got there by then, I should say. You get the point. Gosh, who were the other wide receivers on that team? Chris Moore, right? Anyway, I'm just ripping off names, and Nelly was on the 2023 Ravens, so his second MVP season. Anyway, moral of the story here is it would be a colossal failure if you do not exhaust any and all resources to ensure that Lamar Jackson remains a Raven for the duration of his career. And at the very least, for the prime of his career. Seth Roberts, thank you. Tony's saying Willie Snead was the top receiver. Okay, so Sammy hadn't gotten there yet. I'm mixing up all the years because I don't have the rosters in front of me, and I'm just going off the cuff. But I think you guys know what I'm getting at here. if you do not keep Lamar and do whatever it is, even if it does come with an extremely unique process and a unique relationship between team and front office, and as unorthodox as all of that is for both parties, especially when it comes to the Ravens and the way they do their business over the years, so be it. Because you have to keep this player in his prime around so you can exhaust all resources to ensuring that at the end of the day, if you fall short of what he promised on draft night with Deion Sanders in that interview as he was drafted 32nd overall by Ozzie and company in what became his last draft class, Ozzie, then you get there when you get there. If you fall short of that, then at least you can say that you exhausted any and all resources to keep Lamar in his prime in Baltimore for as long as you possibly could have. It's important to also note that this was a speculative exercise that Florio and Sims were doing. They were going around the league talking about different players that could potentially benefit from a change of scenery in 2026. And Mike's list included Lamar. And it's not a surprise that he chose Lamar. And there is definitely, being that Mike has a background as a lawyer, has a lawyer background, a contractual law background, right? That is his field of law. There is no doubt that there's probably a little bias there, maybe a little bit more than a little, when it comes to Lamar's decision-making on how he's represented himself. Because again, Mike looks at that from the law part of his brain. And he can't fathom the idea of being a franchise quarterback in today's NFL, in today's negotiations, and not having a true traditional representative. It's worked out pretty well for Lamar. Hasn't been easy. It's been unorthodox. I cannot imagine how difficult of a time that was back in 2022 for Eric DeCosta and his front office. But those are some thoughts there. Let's open up the guest lines. I never put out a poll tonight, did I? I should have. And I will right now, and it'll be about Tequila, because we're going to bring on the Tequila man himself. Let's see if he's got his voice back. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Over 600 of you concurrently watching. If you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. It is rather timid right now in the live chat, to be honest with you. There's not a lot of shit going on. Aside from Mike, who right on cue, as I'm saying this, tells me that I open the guest lines as he's packing up to leave the office. So what the hell is what's your point there, Mike? Sounds to me like you got no damn excuse not to pull up the live chat link right now as your ass is walking out of the office. Hello to Ashley and Tisha and Holly and Tila and all my ladies in the live chat. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's see what Major's doing here. Ashley says Bobby wants to get active in the chat. Yes, he does. He wants action, doesn't he? Major says the league don't want people to look up to Lamar, and it becomes the norm for players with no agents. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what was the thought process, Major? I'm going to go ahead and press send on this. OG Sean says Bobby's always looking for smoke. When I'm outside the vault, I'm looking for a lot. Because remember, I got a commitment and an obligation to my partner, which I love and respect. But when I'm outside the vault, yeah, I think you're on to something, Sean. It's on. Shelly says, finally home. What's up, Shelly? Hope you're doing great. Major, when are you going to call in, bro? I mean, seriously. I genuinely want you to call in, please. Holly likes to set everybody off down there. Look at her. She loves it. Okay, down in Mexico City as we go. Appreciate you all for being here. Now let's bring in the Tequila man himself. We'll check in on his Squidward-like voice and see what he's up to. 8 days out from Christmas. See you there, pal. What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, but I don't know. I think Florida's too late on the fire Harbaugh train. So again, late.
Well, that's what's funny about the comments, right? At the end there, Sims kind of snuck it in at the end. Like, yeah, that's what we've all been kind of discussing, dating back all the way to last year. And some of you maybe were dating back all the way to years and years ago, that if anything, if any kind of change of scenery is going to happen, it'll be on Harbaugh's end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you pre-Lamar, I think we got to go pre-Lamar because we had two great teams with Flacco, 2014 and 2016. And those teams did nothing. Nothing. Like the only thing that we did was 2014 against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, you know, that playoff game in the wild card. And after that, you had to lead 2 times, and you know who they were feeding from. You know that shit. I forgot that corner's name that actually just gave them twice. You know, bring back twice the Patriots, and then on 26.
Who are we looking at?
I can't. I don't know that corner that in 2014 that we had.
Oh God, 2014. I was a sophomore at Loyola. You got to give me more hints than that.
Oh, there we go. Chat. Thank you, Matt Elam.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like they were feeding from Matt Elam, and they came back and Harbaugh knew they were feeding, and you're a special team coach, and you don't tell Jacoby, just get the ball and kneel. You know, we got 12 seconds. That help us. And those 12 seconds went down to 4 because you don't tell Jacoby to, you know what, instead of trying to run it. I don't know. Yeah, Harbaugh has to go. Even, let me put it this way.
You have some of the most random thoughts. Like, how the hell did we just get here?
I know, but you know what? Even, let's say we win it all this season. Somehow, some way, we win Super Bowl. I still want Harbaugh out. You want to know why? Because he's going to say, okay, I won with less. Then I'm going to draft less with ADC, and we will get another championship because it's less talent. Because I did it with less talent. And that's the mentality that actually Belichick did after his 4th Super Bowl.
See, then we're back to square one in terms of the exact reason why Mike McDonald walked in 23 and wasn't assuming the duties of the next head coach of Baltimore is because they just got to the AFC Championship game. You're not going to fire the head coach. They're not going to fire the head coach if they somehow won, get into the playoffs as a wild card team, and then rip off multiple wins and win a Super Bowl. They're not getting rid of Harbaugh. Shit, he'd say, I'm going to sign a 10-year contract tomorrow, the day after the Super Bowl.
But that's the thing. You're living on the moment that he won you despite having lesser talent. But that mentality in the short, medium, and long run actually harms you. Look at Brady's last 3 seasons with the Patriots. Less talent around him. Obviously, he's not going to perform up to par.
Ian says he wants Harbs gone no matter what, basically. I think that's English for that. Great to see you, brother. Thanks for the call, my man. Mr. Mexico. Maurice has just chimed in the waiting room. Appreciate you guys for being here. Welcome to Steve Loop, as always, for checking in. Love the number 33 profile picture. For his son, Tyler, 3 more regular season weeks before he's officially completed his rookie season. So congratulations to the Loop family. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody out there. If you're just tuning in, Lamar missed practice today with an illness. John Harbaugh talked about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a rest thing. I mean, the guys are dealing with different things from the game. Ronnie, those guys were held back today. Expect those guys out there tomorrow. We'll see, but should have those guys tomorrow. Lamar had an illness. He was kept home with a flu deal. The doc kept him home today, away from the guys. So that was what happened with that.
What do you set out practice probably anyway, just under watch.
Yeah. Is there other questions? Any other questions? That's it. All right, good. Thanks.
A couple different things. He stonewalled the follow-up there from Jerry Coleman, who was basically like, would he still have missed today with a rest? If he were to be in, Harbaugh wanted nothing to do with that. Okay, so that was the stonewalling. And then, hey, to be clear, for those of you that tuned in earlier when I first built out the live stream, I actually misheard the reporter who set up the question. So initially, this live stream was built out to basically comment on John Harbaugh's strange explanation behind Lamar's absence today. But I thought that the question was set up for Lamar, not Roquan. So to be clear, the question that you just heard the answer to was about Roquan at the start. And then Harbaugh makes his way into revealing that it was an illness and doctor's orders, apparently, to sit Lamar and have him home, keep him home. And then the rest of the players that I had on the injury report earlier were a combination of resting and different setbacks and so on and so forth. So just to be clear, that's why I shifted around and tweaked the headline to what it says now. But now that you guys know that, listen once more through. Again, the question was this a rest day for Roquan? And then he goes on to kind of tell the full story.
Yeah, it's kind of a rest thing. I mean, the guys are dealing with different things from the game. Ronnie, those guys were held back today. Expect those guys out there tomorrow. We'll see, but should have those guys tomorrow. Lamar had an illness. He was kept home with a flu deal. The doc kept him home today, away from the guys. So that was what happened with that.
What do you set out practice probably anyway, just under watch.
Yeah. Is there other questions? Any other questions?
Okay, so look, I see some of you saying 1 day flu, huh? Look, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow. Typically, it's more than 1 day when it comes to flu. But to be honest with you, I'm well past understanding the logic and what's really going on when it comes to this whole practice routine. It went from lower body ailments dating back to the Vikings week a month ago, over a month ago at this point, that caused them to miss one practice per week. Last week, it was NIR, non-injury related, and now it's an illness and apparently a, quote, flu deal. Look, it worked really well for Lamar, I thought, last week. I was on record going into the Bengals week, and Sarah and I obviously passionately disagreed about this. I didn't think it was working, the missed practice time. I didn't think he looked as polished. Wasn't converting on the layups. Wasn't processing. Wasn't seeing the field to the usual Lamar level. And I get it. A lot of that probably has to do with the distrust, the cumulative distrust that's built up over time this season with a lackluster offensive line. And certainly, most importantly, the physical setbacks that he's dealt with, some of the attrition, right, that he's had to work through with multiple lower body ailments. But look, it worked. It worked against Cincinnati. I thought it was the best operational game that Lamar's had this year. You know, statistically, when you're only asked to throw it 12 times, your statistics are going to look pedestrian. But they shouldn't have looked as pedestrian as they did, because Zay Flowers dropped 2 footballs, one of which would have went for a touchdown. So we'll see if it continues to work, quote unquote work. It did this past week. I was of the belief that the previous month prior to the Bengals week, it wasn't. Let's see what happens this upcoming weekend. And mobility-wise, yes. Mobility-wise, I think he continues to take a step forward. The 2 scrambles, 1 for 14, 1 for 12 on Sunday in Cincy, I thought were encouraging. Showed some of that elusiveness, that willingness, that ability. They're going to need a lot of that down the stretch here. Yeah, no Micah Parsons in Green Bay, but Packers are still going to be running, flying around. This is a New England defense. Mike Vrabel is very familiar with Lamar, matched up with him several times throughout his career. But again, just like Derrick Henry, matching up with these guys is one thing. Being familiar with these guys is one thing. Do you have the personnel? Do you have the gap integrity, the discipline, the patience to ultimately implement and execute the game plan that typically remains to be seen until game day with these guys. Maurice and Johnny are chilling in the waiting room. Let's get a thought on these guys. Perhaps a Lamar Jackson flu game coming up on Sunday at the bank under the primetime lights. It'll be the last regular season home game. They are under 500 at home. Very uncharacteristic for this team. To the command center we go. It's Mr. Stationary himself. Should we slap a 60-second on him? What do you think? And how about a Wednesday night beverage, Maurice? Where are you at? Johnny will come to you in just a second. Welcome back to the program, Maurice.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I opted not to touch any alcohol, so I gotta work at 5 a.m, so I'm gonna take a break from that. But yeah, I feel like the key to beating New England is that on offensive side of the ball, we have to beat New England's defense with speed. In other words, here's what we could do. We can implement more Keaton Mitchell into the game plan. It's like we've all saw what Keaton Mitchell can do when we get the ball in his hands. It's like almost every time you feed him the ball, 9 times out of 10, he's going to get positive yardage. It's like we've seen it firsthand. So if we beat New England with speed on the offensive side of the ball, and a lot of people may not know this, some people may know, some people don't know, we do have enough speed and finesse to beat them. I mean, with Lamar getting his mobility back, that's a good thing. It's like we all know he's had his fair share of lower body injuries that's been hindering his performance over the last several weeks. But with him coming back and our players are starting to get healthy at the right time, and offense is starting to click a little bit. So it's safe to say there's still a little bit of optimism. So if we continue to play mistake-free football and the defense continues to take care of business, then we do have a decent chance of making it to the playoffs. But more importantly, we do got to take care of business against Pittsburgh as well, although I don't want to look ahead of that. But as of right now, we have to focus on New England. So New England is a team that we have a lot of familiarity with. We also have familiarities with Mike Vrabel. It's like we've faced him a number of times, even dating back to his coaching tenure with the Titans. So we're going to have to buckle down, and we have to focus strictly on handling our duties. So everything goes according to plan. We're going to get the victory against New England. So we will just have to wait and see how the final 3 games pan out.
Thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of your week. Merry Christmas to you and the family. Guy never misses an opportunity to call in. I appreciate it. And how about that? I didn't slap a 60-second on him, and he was still condensed, wasn't he? He was still concise. Salute to you, Maurice. Salute. Well, we discussed this earlier this afternoon, but I'll just quickly throw some commentary on it right now before we get back to the guest lines, just in case you didn't see it or perhaps you were running around this afternoon. But former Raven Matthew Judon was released by the Miami Dolphins, and my God, what a month it's been for Miami. What'd they lose? 6 the first 7 games to begin the season? They then become sellers at the deadline. Jalen Phillips goes to Philly. They fire their GM after the Ravens loss, Thursday Night Football. They bench Tua, and now Judon's gone. And what a rough season it's been for Matthew, a former day 3 pick of the Ravens out of Grand Valley State, developed into a really good player, spent his first 5 years in Baltimore, and then ultimately walked in free agency and got the bag from New England, where he spent 3 seasons. Since then, it's been a pretty significant drop-off. Spent last year in Atlanta, this season up until now in Miami. And through 13 games, 3 of which were starts this season, and 337 defensive snaps, 0 sacks, and 1 tackle for loss. So not exactly a banner season for Matthew. At the same time, sometimes a change of scenery, the destination, is everything. Dolphins were going nowhere fast. They've basically been playing postseason football for 2 months, and it caught up to them on Monday night as the Steelers pretty much dominated them in every single facet. from a logistical standpoint, Brian McFarland, friend of the show, Raven salary cap analyst, put this together in terms of the Judon scenario. He's due about $427,000, and that would be for the rest of the season. Money is not an issue for a potential waiver claim, to be clear on that. He's played 38% of the defensive snaps without recording a sack, like I just mentioned. And Brian says, we Ravens fans love reunions, but I just don't see this one other than if he clears waivers, maybe adding him to the practice squad. This might be a moot point because I don't know if he clears waivers. Pass rushers, even with the underwhelming resume that Matthews had for multiple years running now, are hard to come by. I don't think he ends up clearing them. But if for some reason he does, and he's dangling out there, why wouldn't you go find yourself a Carl Lawson replacement? They just let him go. Why not? But that's if, and it's a big if. That's if he clears waivers. So time will tell, but those are my thoughts on it. And at the same time, up until yesterday, or Sunday, today's Wednesday already? Shit. Up until Sunday, this is a pass rush group that for years running now has been underwhelming. Maybe not in terms of sack production, overall sack production and pressures in recent years. But go ahead and look. I mean, go ahead and look. Gosh, you want to go all the way back to the Sizzle departure, the Judon departure? You know, I don't want to see where their pass rush win rate, for example. Let's try to say that 10 times fast. Maybe one day I can say that. Pass rush win rate. I'd love to see the cumulative average in that category for the last 5 years. Can't imagine it'd be very pretty. What's going to be pretty tomorrow night, as I see a certain someone in the waiting room, is my ass with some sort of red or green on popping into the gym social in downtown St. Pete, 7 o'clock sharp on Thursday. And somebody who's going to be with me in spirit that night is the life coach / accountant / side hustle Uber driver / Discord lurker / South Carolina's finest / put words in my mouth all the time. Pause. Let's bring his ass in. Dre Dog joins us on a Wednesday night. What's up, brother?
What up, guys?
Oh my! Where are you at right now? Your activity is down, man. Call back, Dre. Call back in, Dre. Let's bring Johnny in. What's up, Johnny?
Bobby Baltimore, how you doing, brother?
How you doing tonight, man?
I'm running late, man. That's what's going on. I'm in traffic, but
where the hell you going?
Man, I'm in Georgia, heading back to work. Back to work. Just got done with a long day. I start at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's 7 now. But that's another story.
Man. What time you getting off tonight?
Well, it looked like 7, but what you going to do? Man. But hey, Bobby, I got a question for you. But first, I want to go over what we talked about last time. Is the AD coming back and giving juice to the defense? Well, juice really to the whole team. Did you see the difference of the physicality against the Bengals this week? It was just his first play in, he almost broke that dude's hip. Yes. And that's what we've been missing. We've been missing just nasty Draymond Green, just nasty Baltimore Ravens play. And I just knew I was just listening to Tony Dungy. He was just talking about when they went on their playoff run. And then when they won the Super Bowl, they said if Bob Sanders never came back, they would have never won. And I think the same thing could happen with the Baltimore Ravens.
Wouldn't that be something?
You was going to say something?
Wouldn't that be something? But I want to start with the Ardarius Washington single out here because he deserves to be singled out. He deserves to be highlighted. He deserves to be commended. This is a player that was an undrafted rookie out of TCU. Ravens took a flyer on him, right? Banged up with all kinds of different injuries to begin his career, but gets healthy and comes back and single-handedly alongside Kyle Hamilton on the back end of Zach Orr's defense last year, saves that group, saves them, gives them a fighting chance. The hit sticks that he's put on several key players over the last couple of years. The Russell Wilson hit stick that resulted in a forced fumble. How about Joe
That was
Mixon
a game
against Houston on Christmas Day? Pat Freiermuth, he's 5'8", $170, and plays like he's a giant. And so I got to salute to him. 15 snaps. He worked his ass off to get back. He literally tore his Achilles in May and is now out here saying, hey, that whole theory of not putting tape out there, being scared to put tape out there going into a contract year, yeah, up yours.
You don't care.
Back out there because my team needs me, and I want to play football. And I just got a tremendous amount of respect for him. Yep.
One of my favorite players, man. And another thing I want to give high praise to is my man, Agent Zero in the middle, man. I really think, I'm not sure how or why, but his coverage in the middle of the field really changing our season right now. He's been on almost everything in the middle of the field, and I love how he's playing right now. And me personally think Trenton Simpson is going to come in and really do a good job too. But my question to you, Bobby, and I can take this off the air because I'm driving, but my question to you, and I might say a little bit something after my question, but my question to you is, why do you think Baltimore gets so much disdain in the national media? Like, I'm trying to figure out, Pittsburgh win, everybody praising them. I've seen everything about, Pittsburgh is back, they're gonna make a run, blah blah blah. They're gonna win the AFC North. But when you think somebody 24-0, it's always like they were just talking about Joe Burrow. They ain't say nothing about Baltimore. So I'm like, where is this disdain like with Baltimore at? And like I said, I could take it. I can listen to you talk, man. I just want to know what your thoughts on that.
Okay, sounds good, brother. Safe travels, man. Thanks, Johnny. I'm going to answer your question right now. Why is there a disdain? He says, which I think is a strong word, but how about we call this? Why is there less coverage of the Ravens, for example, after a clean game? Right, all three phases. I thought it was their most complete game. Can we all agree? First complete game of the season, to be honest with you, because you can't call Buffalo that. It was a 3/4 of complete game, but not a fourth. So I thought that this win in Cincinnati, first and foremost, was the most complimentary game of football, all three phases of the season. Why is Pittsburgh receiving more national recognition, I think is basically Johnny's question, than the Ravens? Some of this is strictly narrative-based, popularity contest side of things. But from a narrative standpoint, this could be Aaron Rodgers' final season. Aaron is a lightning rod. Whether you love him, hate him, or anywhere in between, Aaron steals the headlines. Mike Tomlin steals the headlines. Pittsburgh in general is a headline-stealing organization because it's that kind of group. It's that kind of storied franchise. Same could be said for Lamar over the years. But in the here and now, which was what Johnny's question stems from, I think it simply has to do with the fact that Aaron is 42. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. He is a polarizing lightning rod of a human, and he's playing really damn good football over the last 2 weeks. I get it. They still have their flaws. At times, they can look one-dimensional outside of the hookup with he and DK Metcalf. But their offense has come alive over the last couple of weeks, and the Ravens were on the wrong end of that. So there's that angle of it. And other than that, I can't really think of anything else that would warrant, a clear-cut response, other than the fact that from an offensive standpoint, which is also what Johnny was focusing on related to his question, yes, that's why XVY JZ. And the second part of it's right now, XVY JZ0. Call your ass in. This is the second part of it. The second part of it is, are we sitting here convinced, hell-bent on the idea that the Ravens are back? Because I'm not. The Bengals basically gave up in the second half at times. And by the way, this wasn't a 24-point output by the Ravens offense. It was 17 with a couple big drops. And they weren't particularly good on third down. So that's another part of it as well. There's more of a sample size with Pittsburgh than there is with the Ravens offense. Again, I thought that they were close to flawless operationally, led by Lamar from an offensive standpoint, and it was their most polished, most operationally clean game in quite some time, maybe of the entire season. But do I sit here against a Cincinnati team that came in 4-9 with a glimpse, with just a slight glimmer of hope for postseason contention? Should I be sitting here and being like, yeah, the Ravens are back? So I think it's a two-part question and a two-part answer, and that's where I'm at. What do you guys think? Let's see what the live chat says. Shelly says, Bobby, you're going to say this on the vault tomorrow. Which part, Shelly? I actually do believe that. It's narrative-based, one. And two, I think there's more of a sample size that Pittsburgh's offense has found something. The Ravens are perfectly capable of finding. We've already seen it this year. It's been a long time, but we've seen it. They're perfectly capable of finding it. Will they be able to in the next 3 weeks? I don't know. And most importantly, will they be able to coming up on Sunday night? I don't know. So that's where I'm at off the cuff in response to Johnny's question. Okay. Seabiscuit Bass. Long-time listener, first-time caller? Chronologically, I got to go back to Dre and then see we're coming up with you in just a second. Let's see if Dre decided to get some connectivity. I gave him the best cold intro that you ever could have asked for. A better invoice is asked because of it. And then what does he do? He's a no-show. So let's try him again. It's good to see you, brother.
What's up, man? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. We'll give you another chance.
All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate the intro. You know what I'm saying? That's lovely intro you gave me there. You feel me? Lovely intro. Man, I think this game is really going to be a battle of the red zones. You know, which worst team's red zone performance will change on Sunday night. And the crazy part is with the Ravens offense, it doesn't have to be world-breaking like how it was last year. We were number one last year, if I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't have to be a world-breaking kind of red zone offense. We just need to get around that 50% mark where every other time we're in the red zone, we score a touchdown. If we could do that, that would, and the defense can stay where it is, oh my gosh, we'll be fine even going into the playoffs. I guess the only team that would, not to get too far ahead of myself, but the only team that would really make me a little bit nervous with their pass rush is Denver. You know, their pass rush is insane.
They got a big game this weekend in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's a big game. That's a big game for them. So, but no other team really, really makes me nervous. But
see,
yeah, man,
I got to push back on that real second because this is actually an interesting conversation. I really like Johnny's question, by the way, and I'm going to write it down and maybe we'll include it in the vault tomorrow because Shelly wants to hear Sarah's reaction to that. But I think it might spark a good conversation. So one, it'll be Johnny's question. Second, I want to dig a little bit further on what you just said. Right? You said nobody really worries me outside of Denver, and here's the one counterpoint to that I always think of this season in particular when someone says that, and that is, to me, that's a luxury. That statement is a luxury the Ravens could, should, and have leaned on in the past, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that that's something they've earned this year because that to me speaks to the parity, right? That's in the league. I think you could go to every single team that's going to be in this AFC playoff field and they might say the same thing because it's so balanced, it's so wide open, and it's anybody's conference to go take. So that's my one pushback there. And you might have just been saying that, whatever, but like I've heard it on over and over again, including from Sarah. And every time in my mind, I'm like, that's a luxury that I don't think applies to this year. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I think for the Ravens, I think they are still, and when they started out, remember at the beginning of the year, we were talking about who has the best balanced roster. It was the Ravens and Philly, right? Everybody was like, what these two teams potentially do on defense, offense, special team, nobody touches them. And I think we got a glimpse of what the Ravens could be balance-wise against Cincinnati. If your Ravens are only going to score 17 points on offense and get a defensive touchdown, okay, let's say we convert in the red zone one more time. So now we're talking about a 30-plus game with a defensive touchdown. You get what I'm saying? So if the offense can become more consistent in that red zone area and the team can stay balanced, Tyler Loop can make his kicks when he needs to. Jordan Stout, man. I mean, this guy, I know it's weird to talk about a kicker, and I feel like I talk about the kickers often. But Jordan Stout, man, he is playing his ass off for a contract, and I hope the Ravens give it to him. I would be totally behind them getting Jordan Stout back, because putting teams back in that 10-yard zone or that 20-yard zone, that does nothing, especially in these dog days of the season, man. When the team has to go, it's a total difference when a team has to go 60 yards versus 80 yards or 90 yards on a whole drive. Like a lot of the teams that we see, especially with the quarterback play that we see of the AFC, no Patrick Mahomes now. We still got Josh Allen there, but really with the quarterback play, I mean, even the Steelers, up until these recent games, them throwing these fades to DK, they hadn't been moving the ball down the field like that. No offense is really a game-breaking offense. So if you like again, I'm not trying to glaze over the special teams, that's John Harbaugh's wheelhouse. So, but if you can really, if Jordan Stout and that special team unit can continue to pin teams back, our defense can play sound. I appreciate Zach Orr for modifying that, at the beginning of the year, 10 yards off the ball, 7 yards off the ball. He did it a little bit last game too, but we saw what happened when we did that against DK. Every time they gave him space, Aaron Rodgers is too smart. He's gonna throw that ball out there. He don't care if it's a 2-yard game, 4-yard game. You're gonna give me 10 yards of space, I'm gonna make sure my man get it. But yeah, man, I think
we came into the year focusing on all the wrong dudes who were in contract years. We focused on the entire tight end room, the fullback, Travis Jones, Linderbaum, right? All these guys that come to mind in terms of what priorities should be from the front office standpoint going into 26. And yet the guy who's stolen the show is the punter.
Yes.
I mean, in a contract year,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So anyway.
And not to real quick, and not to take anything from Luke, because he is playing, I think he is exceeding or at least matching what we thought he would do special teams wise. To go from a universal kicker, top kicker of all time, to having a rookie who's not that bad, who did better than he did last year. You get what I'm saying? Like,
he's been an upgrade in terms of Justin's percentage last year. Yeah. Now,
so
you'd like to think Justin would have been a little bit cleaner in some of the new dynamic kickoff rules, landing zone efficiency. Things of that nature.
He would have been good at that.
But what are you ultimately paid for, right? Because you paid for it all, because you can't give short fields to the teams that they're playing over the next couple weeks. But you're ultimately what gets the most attention is what's your make percentage. And Tyler's only missed, I know he's missed one PAT, but I think he's only missed 2 field goals, 2 or 3 field goals on the season. So ultimately, it's been an upgrade in that category from a point output standpoint than it was from number 9 last year. So
yes, sir. All right, man. Good. When you going on your little date though? When is this event?
Oh, well, it's just a group social for the gym tomorrow night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right, player. I know you got a couple of them in there, so you know what I'm saying. I hope you play your cards right and play your cards face up.
Copy that. Talk to you, brother.
All right, man.
Great dog. Referring to some chatter in the Discord server. If you guys haven't already joined, I would love for you to do so. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. I'll drop the link into the live chat right now. Got over 1,000 members and counting by the day. Hopefully you guys will pop in. I'm dropping into the live chat right now. Okay, Seabiscuit Bass has been holding for a while, and I definitely, this is a new face and name as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'm having a blank right now, but welcome to the program, brother. You got to enlighten me. Have you called in before, and what's your name?
First time caller, Bobby.
Let's go. First time caller, long time subscriber, and on the move as we speak. What's going on, dude?
Long time subscriber. I was going to say, do you remember the place you did a pregame show, 2022, Ravens played Cincinnati in the playoffs. It was a brewery in Bigtown.
Oh, my gosh, at the brewery. Yeah.
I think I missed you that night by about 15 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, we did a little.
Ended up watching the game at Abbey Burger in Fed Hill.
That's
I had to make my son that night, but went well.
There you go, dude. That's crazy. I really do miss my on-site stuff. I really selfishly hope that they make the postseason and host a wild card game, because I'd love to get back to the Be More Around Town setup. But that's awesome, man. Thanks for the memory. What's on your mind tonight?
So I got two things, because I'm really curious how the Ravens are going to attack New England in the run game on Sunday. And if they're going to let Keaton Mitchell touch the ball, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thought the split was really encouraging and enticing, what we saw on Sunday in Cincy. 11 carries for Derek, 8 for Keaton. I mean, I love the way that they complement each other. I love getting Keaton involved in some misdirection, allowing him to bounce on the outside. And you're coming in and out with these guys in different formations and personnel groupings, and you just don't know what to account for. So I hope that was an indication of what they've been saving or holding on to for this 3-week stretch. You got to win. You want to win this division, you got to win all 3 weeks. And New England defends the run well, so you better believe that they're going to be ready to go. But they really struggle in the red zone, as you can see right here. There's not a worse ranked team through 15 weeks in the red zone defensively wise than New England. But that said, there's only one team worse offensively, efficiently wise in the red zone than the Ravens are. So something's got to give there.
Yeah, I think Todd Monken needs to lean into it. I think he needs to cook some stuff up in the red zone, Bobby, because there are times when they look terrible.
The red zone's got to get cleaned up across the board. You know it. They know it. I know it. We all know it. And for them to have fallen off a cliff when they were the most dangerous in that category a year ago is mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. A lot of us, we know why. There's a multitude of reasons. It's been a perfect storm. But you got the opportunity to completely really erase or at least make it all an afterthought the last 3 months. If you can clean up that area and get yourself a chance. The analytics tell you what, high 30s, low 40s% chance of making the postseason through the AFC North. So it's all there for the taking. But something tells me they're going to split these next 2 weeks, as is Pittsburgh, and it's going to be all for the marbles in Pittsburgh, Week 18, regular season finale. They're going to flex the fuck out of that game. I'm going to have to work another goddamn primetime game for the 3rd straight week. I can already see it.
100%. I think, besides just running the ball this week and, what happens the next 2-3 weeks, I think how they really put Kyle into the box this week and how they let him make plays, let the safeties work their rotation in there and really figure things out so that they can look good going into the playoffs.
Thanks for the call, dude. Safe travels out there. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
Later, man. Love it. Love a first-time caller, long-time subscriber. Absolutely love it. Wish you guys would do more of it. Everyday American Raptor says, watch your fucking mouth, Bobby. Who you talking to out there, Raptor? Appreciate Preston Automotive Group for the continued support of my program. My longest-standing sponsor. And at Preston, subscribers of mine, a.k.a. you, get access to 2 exclusive offers. One, a $500 credit, as you see here on the site. It can be used towards a new or pre-owned vehicle. If you're wondering what you have to choose from, well, just scroll all the way down here and you will find currently 3,913 vehicles in their available inventory section. That's offer number 1. Offer number 2, also to you out there as a subscriber. Buy 4 tires and you'll get 50% off your alignment. How do you cash in on either one of these things? Just go to any Baltimore area dealership. All of those locations, by the way, are under this tab right here. It's not just in Baltimore City or Baltimore County. They're all over the DMV. Let them know that I sent you, and you can cash in on one or both of those offers that are out there for the taking. When you shop with Preston and you're joining a trusted team serving Baltimore and beyond, you can scan the QR code that you see in the upper right-hand corner, which will take you to this site at PrestonMotor.com and my exclusive offers page. And if you want to go and toggle through and have a little bit of fun going back and forth and doing a deep dive search, I'll do so by make, model, keyword, price, vehicle condition, the year. I mean, they literally let you go as specific as your heart desires. So thanks to Preston for the continued support. And again, you want to learn more, just scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. And Christian, you are right. They have a great presence on the Eastern Shore. Perhaps their most dense presence is on the Eastern Shore. So you know the drill, man. Appreciate you for being here and reminding me of that nugget. Let's see what's going on in the Discord group. And I want to show you guys something that actually had me howling earlier today because AI is getting scarier and scarier. This is the 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports, a.k.a. my Discord server. I don't know what this is right here. Let's get rid of it. Hide this. Anyway, 1,000 members and counting. Let's see how many we have. 1,067. Welcome to Kimchi Turtle. Ooh, kimchi. Does anybody like Korean food? I do. By the way, Anju in D.C., DuPont Circle, my favorite Thursday night date spot when I lived in Baltimore. Now, the problem was driving there for a Thursday night date was a bitch, at least 90 minutes. Typically, sometimes I can get it done in an hour. But Anju, A-N-J-U, DuPont Circle, let me tell you right now, their Korean food is through the roof. I spent way too much money on first dates there, including old fashions. Anyway, guys, if you want to join this group, it's a 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. It's a great community that's growing every single day. And I saw something that had me howling. James, I guess because of my admiration for Teddy Buchanan, put together this. Can someone tell me what it is that I'm looking at? Are Teddy Buchanan and I arms attached in heaven together? Like, what am I looking at right here? By the way, James did a great job of my sideburns. I happen to think that my widow's peak looks pretty darn good here. And by the way, Teddy is towering over my ass here. Could James at least have given me a little lift? I do like the stogie, by the way, as well. It's definitely a lit stogie, too. So anyway, these are the types of things that oftentimes pop up into the Discord that make me stop what I'm doing and ask myself how, why. Mike commented on the hand on the waist. Yeah, he goes up top, I go low. Goodness gracious. We'll leave it at that. Football chat's constantly cooking in here. What's Mike doing? Mike and Evan have been really just two menaces. Oh, God. Yeah. Sharon Moore, there's going to be plenty of memes and gifts around him for a lifetime. Anyway, it's a good group of like-minded people or something like that. Troy says, damn, they got you a decent hairline too. Thanks, Troy. Just wait till my next Bosley op. Joke's on you, baby. Appreciate you guys as always. Remind me to pull that up for tomorrow with Sarah. Matter of fact, I need to put 2 notes down right now in tomorrow's Google Doc because I think there are 2 areas that would spark good conversation, or in the case of that AI image right there, just humor for tomorrow's show. So I'm going to go ahead and drop into our doc before I forget right now and drop in. All right. So Johnny's, right, was Johnny's Steelers versus Ravens national recognition, right? And then check James via general Discord. That'll be a quick hit. That should make for some good conversation tomorrow. So there you go. Okay, everybody. Appreciate you as always for spending some time with me. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thanks for the support of the program. Sarah and I will be back tomorrow for a Thursday Ravens lunch hour live stream, 12 noon Eastern. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your nights. Catch up with you soon. Later. Like the video on your way out if you could.